obviously the Cubs bullpen has been underperforming a lot, this entire season. If you've been paying attention, it's just been a disaster outright. And we brought up that the Cubs may need to make an outside addition. I think we're all hoping for something maybe a little bit more, you know, uh, headline worthy than Tyson Miller. But again, it's a smart move for now. But at current, I mean, Adbert Alzolay was just placed on the IL a couple days ago. He obviously was struggling all season. Hopefully, this injury list sort of stint lets him get right. Yancy Almonte was just placed on the injured list. Jordan Wicks is still out. Julian Merriweather is still out. It's definitely been sort of a war of attrition in the early going. And right now, the Cubs, whether it comes from Tyson Miller, whether it comes from, another guy figuring it out internally, the Cubs really need the bullpen to figure it out ASAP because they're blowing way too many leads.
I think it's again, it's what we saw in the Mets game where everything kind of seems like peachy and great in the beginning of it, innings 1 through, let's call it 6, where our starting pitchers and our relief, even our relief pitchers, they can kind of hold their own. But once we kind of get to maybe our second round of relief pitchers and our closing pitchers, we're really kind of selling the bag here. And it stinks because, if you look back to the 2016 Cubs, again, I don't want to throw shade to the the Cubs players we currently have. Man, what a great lineup we had. And now it just kind of seems like we're lacking in that area. And the kind of question is, how can we improve? We have great players, but I think the execution is just where we're lacking.
Yeah, for sure. You bring up a good point. The it feels like, in the first 7 innings of a game when it's the starting pitcher and then like Mark Leiter Jr., the first guy to the bullpen, it feels like things are fine and then things completely collapse. And again, we just talked about the Cubs having this organizational depth on offense and at starting pitching. They just don't have it right now in the bullpen. There's too many players that are hurt, too many players that are underperforming. And again, bringing in Tyson Miller is a smart move from the outside. They're probably going to make at least another one or two trades, or whether it's another signing. They've obviously made a lot of minor league reliever signings recently. So yeah, for sure. Again, going back to those 2016 Cubs, if you remember that playoff run, it was really just two or three relievers. It was Aroldis Chapman, Pedro Strop, and a little bit of Hector Rondon. So, again, that's the playoffs, but you don't need an entire bullpen's worth of elite pitchers. You just need a couple guys you can rely on. And right now, the Cubs don't have any besides maybe Mark Leiter Jr. So,
I want to make a quick closing remark about all this. In any situation, you kind of can say mistakes need to be made in order for you to improve. I mean, that's, the case with anything. I think at this point, unfortunately, we're past the point of mistakes have been made, and
mhm.
we need to dig ourselves out of the hole at this point. I think at this point, if things get worse, whatever that worse may be, I don't want to jinx anything and I don't want to allude to anything. But, again, like we've discussed, these next few games against the Pirates and the Braves, and the Brewers, I think will really be the telltale signs of what's next for the Cubs bullpen. Um, I think whatever happens next, Craig Counsell and the Cubs trainers and coaches really need to take a look for next year's spring training as well, to kind of focus on the bullpen and see what we can do next.